Sometimes one glimpse can change everything. Hi, I'm Rob West. For a woman facing an unexpected pregnancy, an ultrasound can turn fear and uncertainty into a moment of clarity, compassion, and hope. Today, Dan Steiner joins us to share how PreBorn's national network of partner clinics reaches women at critical moments and how you can come alongside this life-saving work. And then it's on to your calls at 800-525-7000. This is Faith and Finance Live, biblical wisdom for your financial decisions. Well, each quarter we have the privilege of partnering with ministries that are making a meaningful kingdom impact, and PreBorn is one of them. PreBorn supports pregnancy clinics across the country by providing ultrasound machines, training, and other resources that help women facing unplanned pregnancies receive compassionate care and practical support. PreBorn's founder and president, Dan Steiner, is back with us again today. Dan, great to have you here.
It's great to be here. Thanks for the opportunity, Rob.
Dan, before we get rolling, for someone who may be hearing about PreBorn for the very first time, walk us through how different gift amounts can help support this life-saving work.
Yeah, this is a very low entry point, $28, less than a meal out for sure these days, covers a single ultrasound for a woman, and gives one mom a chance to see and hear her baby personally. 56 would cover 2 ultrasounds, helps provide the costs for the ultrasonographer to give these women an ultrasound. Twice the opportunity for life, 140, 5 ultrasounds, a week full of appointments sometimes, and then $200 helps us actually reach the woman online to send her to the ultrasound appointment. So it's $28 is the base amount, and multiples of that, 56, 140.
Folks, this is incredible. This gives a mom the chance to see and hear her baby, $28, and more than 50% of the time she chooses life. Then the team at PreBorn shares the gospel with her, and they journey with her, providing necessary resources for months or beyond that into the future. Dan, for someone who has more capacity, there is a gift that allows us to bring a brand new ultrasound machine to the table, right?
Yeah, our goal is to place hundreds of these machines, over 300 this year. $15,000 is the base price for our machines. Some cost a lot more, even up to $100,000, but it provides a new ultrasound machine that lasts for 10 years, serving thousands of women.
Yeah, incredible. So folks, faithfi.com/preborn. If you can come in with a gift of $28, great. That's a single ultrasound. If you can do $15,000, that's an ultrasound machine. Now, Dan, we've set some goals for this campaign, and I'm so excited about the opportunity to reach these goals with the FaithFi listener. Share that with us.
This is so great to be able to have your audience participate in saving babies. This is awesome, Rob. And we're hoping to underwrite 1,500 ultrasound scans at $28 a piece. That's $42,000 total in our campaign. And even get 1 or 2 people to, maybe business guys to underwrite ultrasound machines for $15,000 a piece. So that's what we're shooting for.
Incredible. Folks, you can come alongside PreBorn in this life-saving work. There's a couple of ways to get involved. You can go to faithfi.com/preborn or dial pound 250 and say baby. Pound 250 and say baby. And that gift will provide an ultrasound for a woman facing an unexpected pregnancy. Now, Dan, let's talk about what actually happens. And we're going to hit a break here in a moment, and then we'll continue. But what makes that moment in the ultrasound room so powerful for a woman who may be feeling uncertain or even overwhelmed?
Well, all she can see, Rob, is the pressure by her mom or by the boyfriend to abort. But this brings it back to the reality that this is her baby inside of her, seeing arms, legs, and most importantly, hearing the heartbeat. That's the thing that changes her mind the most often. And Rob, it's like 80% of the time it will change her mind. It doubles the likelihood she'll choose life. And then we come behind her with the compassion she needs, no judgment, open the trap for her so that she can make a decision on her own. And that motherly instinct kicks in, that God-given instinct kicks in. And it's no longer a blob of tissue. It is a person. It's her baby. And time again, we have seen the power of a mother seeing her baby in the womb.
Incredible. Folks, we are so honored for just 2 months between now and August the 31st to be able to partner with PreBorn to see, Lord willing, 1,500 ultrasounds funded through your partnership. Every $28 is going to fund one of those ultrasounds. Would you take part? Go to faithfi.com/preborn, faithfi.com/preborn to make your gift today. Back with Dan Steiner right after this. Stick around. When we come alongside women with compassion, practical support, and the hope of Christ, we can help make choosing life possible. We have partnered with PreBorn during this month until August the 31st to fund 1,500 free ultrasounds that help women at a critical moment during a crisis pregnancy. And it more than doubles when they see their baby, that decision to choose life. And PreBorn then comes behind and shares the gospel. If you'd like to be a part of this incredible work, go to faithfi.com/preborn. Dan, I want to back up for a minute and talk about the beginning of PreBorn. Share with us how God first led you into this work.
Yeah, I can't help but think that the beginning of this thing, Rob, was in the heart of God, who sees every baby and it breaks his heart. And one time in prayer after I came to Christ, I just said, Lord, what can I do to pay you back, to do for you something for what you've done in saving my soul? And he showed me his broken heart over abortion. That set me on a course to say just what exactly does save babies. And there's protests and there's legislation, but they're not particularly effective. But what is showing a woman her baby and giving her the help so she can raise it. And so that was an eye-opening experience for me. And then that led to me quitting corporate America, going into leading a pregnancy clinic of all the unlikely career paths. And I knew that the gospel had to be central to it. A lot of pro-life organizations save lives, but they're not interested in the eternal life of the mother or the baby. And so then with that successful run in a pregnancy clinic in the Midwest, we then charted PreBorn, Valerie and I, to take that success across the nation in the highest abortion areas of the United States: New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Chicago, all over the country. Compassionate, gospel-centered care powered through an ultrasound that the listeners are underwriting by dialing pound 250 and saying keyword baby, or going to faithfi.com/preborn to make their tax-deductible gift.
Yeah, we're looking for 1,500 of these ultrasounds funded between now and August the 31st. Every $28 will allow you to be a part of it. Dan, I know PreBorn works alongside local pregnancy centers to strengthen and support the incredible work they're already doing. Share with us a bit about that aspect of the ministry.
Yeah, most of these are hand-to-mouth ministries that are struggling, and we're there providing ultrasound machines, helping underwrite the ultrasound session as we're asking for today. Leadership, marketing to get the women into the centers. We open clinics in the highest abortion cities of the country. We opened one in Brooklyn, one in Bronx the last year, for example, where there's more abortions than there are live births, frankly. And so while we're not operating the exact clinic most of the time, we are making them effective at what they do. Free dollars for ultrasound scans, machines, training, expanding their capacity. All of this is done for free to the clinics, and most importantly, training them on evangelism, to have them return to the first love, who is Jesus Christ, giving them the evangelistic tools, practical support, and then best practices across the country. So it's continuous improvement across our network of about 300 clinics in the United States. This is the answer to abortion in America today. And particularly reaching these women online and sending them into the clinics.
Yeah, I love that. You know, it really helps to see this work in action when we hear stories of how God is moving. Would you share a story that comes to mind today?
Be glad to do so. A young woman came in and she was definitely abortion-minded. She felt like she had 2 children at home, and this would take away from her being able to be an effective mother. The boyfriend was not supportive at all, wasn't a husband. And so she came in very abortion-minded, which is who we want to reach. And we took her back into the ultrasound room there, and she saw her baby, and she began to weep. She realized that there's arms and legs here. This is a human being.
Yes.
But she didn't choose life then. She had an appointment out of state for an abortion, but she came back next week. She was then at 11 weeks, and her little one was kicking. And daughter, it turned out, we identified as a daughter. She had 2 boys at home. So she said, oh, I've always wanted to have a girl. And she chose life because a listener underwrote that particular ultrasound.
Yeah, incredible. Folks, again, we're looking for 1,500 of these free ultrasounds funded. It happens $28 at a time, and you can be a part at faithfi.com/preborn. Now, Dan, we said for some folks who have a bit more capacity, a gift of $15,000 can actually place one of these ultrasound machines in a pregnancy center. Why does having that technology right there in the center make such a profound difference for the women you serve?
Well, first off, getting the machine is a big leap for these pregnancy centers that are often one-horse shows run by volunteers and hand-to-mouth. They don't have money sitting around by any means. And so if we can find the money for them and buy the machine for them, that lifts a heavy burden off of their back. And this is the secret weapon of the pregnancy center. This is the essence of pro-life work, is showing the mom her baby. Yeah. And if she can do that and get them for free, and then that machine is there for decades, why, this is a fantastic investment. We give it to them for free, train them how to use it. And some of donors can actually go into the center and see the machine at work. There may be somebody there that's a businessman whose their business is done well, could underwrite a $15,000 machine, or maybe even put up a matching gift for our entire $42,000 campaign here. But whatever the Lord leads, it's all tax deductible. And here's the thing, Rob, every ultrasound scan that's given at $28, $56, $140 goes only to underwriting the ultrasounds. Doesn't go to administration. That $15,000 only goes to the machine.
Incredible. I know it's all about women choosing life for their babies, but then it's about eternal life when they surrender their lives to Jesus. How do you keep evangelism central to everything?
Well, if a woman comes in and she chooses life but does not choose Christ, and then the baby grows up to an adult that doesn't choose Christ, and they both end up alienated from God forever, well, that's not the end game here. And so every person, mom, baby, dad, is an image bearer, the Imago Dei. Eternity matters as much as the live birth. And so we train the staff at our pregnancy clinics because we're evangelists by essence, I am, and to follow the Great Commission. And we want them to share Christ if they're able to. We can't push it, never did. The Holy Spirit's a gentleman. He doesn't shoulder in any conversation. But if we can have them share the gospel with every person that comes in, that's our desire. And we have seen over 106,000 women come to Christ over the last 20 years. We've seen over 5,000 this year so far come to Christ. And so evangelism is the foremost value of PreBorn as a ministry.
Dan, just 30 seconds left. You just mentioned the salvations. That's incredible. Give us a sense of the number of babies that were saved just last year.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Well, over 84,000 babies where the mom came in and says, I want an abortion. She left and said, that's my baby. I'm not going to abort. 84,000. Wow. We've seen over 157,000 women come in that were wanting abortions, over 136,000 ultrasound scans throughout the 50 states. And we're just so thankful for FaithFi's partnership in this.
Well, we are as well. Folks, this is the opportunity. Let me remind you, a gift of $28 funds 1 ultrasound, $56 funds 2, $140 funds 5. We're looking for, through your partnership, the FaithFi listeners, 1,500 free ultrasounds funded by August 31st. Go to faithfi.com/preborn. That's faithfi.com/preborn. We'll be back with your questions after this break. So call right now, 800-525-7000. That's 800-525-7000. Stick around.
The opinions offered during this program represent the personal or professional opinions of the participants, given for informational purposes only. Any information provided is not intended to replace advice from a financial, medical, legal, or other professional who understands your specific situation.
So glad you're with us today on Faith and Finance Live. What a treat to have Dan Steiner here. It has been such a joy to partner with PreBorn over these last couple of months. Let me just remind you why we do this. Each quarter we select a ministry in addition to the Moody Bible Institute and Moody Radio, and in addition to Faith Fi, and certainly in addition to your local church, just to shine a light on some amazing organizations doing incredible work in the name of Jesus, to meet real needs, to love people, but also to advance the gospel. And it's been a treat to partner with PreBorn these last couple of months, all culminating Monday, August the 31st, in trying to reach this goal of funding 1,500 free ultrasounds, $28 each. Now, the reason we do this is we recognize as we live as faithful stewards, as we hold God's money loosely and we understand God owns it all and we live with contentment, we realize that our giving is a response to the grace that God has extended to us, and we start with our local church, but then we look for those things that are on the heart of God that intersects with our passions. We have an opportunity to participate in God's redemptive purposes in the world. And so therefore, we want to make sure you're aware of some incredible organizations you may not otherwise be familiar with. And then we partner with them. We set a goal for the quarter and we say, as the Faith Fi family, what can we do as we give? And some give, a little over here and some give a lot over there. And together we can do some incredible kingdom building work. Well, that's what we've been doing these last couple of months. Again, it all culminates on Monday. But if you have the ability to step in with a $28 gift, you could fund one of these free ultrasounds for a mom considering an abortion. More than half the time when she sees her baby, she chooses life. They share the gospel with her either way. And then if she chooses life, they'll journey with her for up to a couple of years to provide diapers and some supplies and things that are critical. And it's just amazing. And that's what's happening. So whether you can give $28 to fund one of these, or maybe you can, do several of them, whatever it is, just go to faithfi.com/preborn, faithfi.com/preborn. We are looking for one more of you that would be able to do $15,000, which is to buy an ultrasound machine, to place it in a pregnancy center that's waiting for it, provide the training, $15,000. We've already had one of you say, yep, I've got one. We're looking for one other. If that's you, you could use the same link, faithfi.com/preborn. But we'll celebrate on Monday and see where we land, but perhaps you can help us reach this goal, faithfi.com/preborn. All right, we want to turn the corner. We want to take your questions today. We'll begin doing that in just a moment. Really, any financial question today, whether maybe it's giving, how do we think about that in light of biblical wisdom or our financial situation? Maybe for you, it's saving. Maybe it's just trying to stay on budget. We know that's harder now than ever, just given what's going on with prices these days and inflation, really challenging. In fact, a new report, and this is in the news today, from the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, it found that many lower and moderate income workers were managing to stay afloat financially, but they're having a harder time getting ahead. The report looked at workers earning $85,000 or less and found this widening gap between simply surviving and achieving some lasting financial stability. Rising costs, of course, for necessities like housing and food continue to strain household budgets. Debt, of course, another major obstacle. Among survey respondents carrying credit card debt, 65% of that debt was held by people who described themselves as either struggling financially or just getting by. And here's the cycle that happens. I've seen it all too often. We get beyond our means. We don't have any margin. We then default to the credit cards. We can't do that. We can't make that an extension of the monthly budget. Then when we get to a place where it starts to become really problematic, we get a loan consolidation. We take some of the pressure off. We get the interest rate down, spread out the payments, take a deep breath. But guess what? We didn't solve the underlying problem. We treated the symptom. So then 6 months later, the credit card debt's back on top of the loan consolidation, and then that cycle continues. So, using debt to cover routine expenses only makes the problem worse by adding interest payments to an already strained cash flow. So a better approach, of course, is to start with knowing exactly where your money's going. Build a realistic spending plan. Identify expenses you can reduce or eliminate. and look for opportunities to increase income, even temporarily. Because if you're carrying credit card balances, you want to stop adding new charges wherever possible and make debt repayment a priority. That's why we encourage you to consider not debt consolidation, debt management. Here's the big distinction there. First, when you work with our friends at Christian Credit Counselors, they're all believers. Second, they're going to help you create a budget. Remember, I said we want to treat the root, not the symptom. The root is overspending. It means you need to have a plan, and you've got to be willing to stick to it. Number three is when you go into debt management, the credit card accounts are closed while you're in the program. That's a good thing because remember, we need to stop the bleeding. We've got to stop spending beyond our means on credit. So we want those accounts closed. They will be. And then fourth, we're going to get those interest rates down. And then finally, fifth, we're going to get a level monthly payment. What is that? Well, remember, normally your minimum payment on a credit card is a function of a percentage of your balance. So it may be 2.5% of your balance. Well, as that balance comes down, that percentage of your balance that is your monthly minimum payment comes down as well. That's not good. We want a level payment so that every month as you're paying down principal, remember, more's going down because the interest rate dropped. That level monthly payment means more and more going to principal every month. You put all that together, and that's the way you get out of debt and stay there once and for all. If you want to check out our friends at Christian Credit Counselors, just go to faithfi.com/CCC. That's faithfi.com/CCC. All right, we're ready for your questions. Call right now. Any financial question today, 800-525-7000. Whether you're thinking about preparing the next steward, when to take Social Security, getting that credit score up, or staying on budget, call right now. 800-525-7000. We'll be right back. Great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance Live. We've got some lines open. The calls are coming in quick, but we've got room for you at the moment. If you have a financial question, call right now, 800-525-7000. Let's go to Elgin, Illinois. Kim, how can I help you?
Thank you for taking my call. I enjoy your show. And
Thank
you. You're welcome. I have a question. I heard from somebody, and I don't have a lot of detail, just the fact that if your beneficiary is disabled and you have a trust, like on your home, that you have to have a double trust because the person that you're leaving the property to is disabled. And I was wondering if you could tell me if you have any knowledge of that.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the term double trust, but perhaps this is what you're getting at. That's not a standard legal requirement. What you may be talking about is something called a special needs trust. And this is where someone is dependent heavily on what government benefits are available for the disabled person. And so if a beneficiary receives what's called a means-tested benefit, like SSI or Medicaid, that's available only because of their financial situation, then leaving a house or a significant asset or assets directly to that person could create benefit eligibility issues. And so a properly drafted third-party special needs trust can allow someone else, like a parent or a relative or a homeowner, to leave assets for the disabled person's benefit without those trust assets generally becoming the beneficiary's countable resources. And Social Security specifically recognizes special needs and pooled trusts as exceptions in trust rules. So, there's two concepts that may be getting confused. The first is a special needs trust, where someone else is leaving their property to a disabled person. And then there's the first party special needs trust where the money or the property already belongs to the disabled individual. So I would say being disabled doesn't automatically mean you need two trusts, but if the beneficiary receives SSI or Medicaid, then you want an estate planning attorney who specializes in the special needs trust to review how the house is going to pass before changing the deed or the will, if that makes sense.
Right. That's definitely what it is. The person is disabled on SSI and SDI, cannot work due to physical challenges, there's just, no way. And yet I want to be able to leave my home to my son. That's what
Okay.
it's about. And there is no other person to leave it to. My parents are dead. They've passed a long time ago. His father is in Mexico. I've been divorced from him for many, many years. So it's not somebody that I could trust to do anything like that. I don't really have anybody.
Okay.
But you're saying the way you do it is getting a third party so that it doesn't go directly to that person?
Yeah, well, just make sure there's a special needs trust. So this is exactly the kind of situation where special needs planning matters. So because your son receives SSI, you want to be careful about simply writing a will that says, I leave my house to my son, because SSI has strict resource rules. However, a home that is the SSI's recipient's principal residence is generally excluded as a resource, so that doesn't automatically mean he loses SSI. But the bigger concern is the overall estate plan and what happens to the property and any other assets over time. And a common solution would be for you to establish a properly drafted third-party special needs trust for your son and have your estate plan direct the house and any other assets into that trust when you die. And because these are your assets, rather than already belonging to your son, this is different from a first-party special needs trust where they already are his. And so this could allow him to own the house and live there. And then when you pass away, the assets go into the special needs trust, which preserves his need-based government assistance, but still preserves these assets for his use down the road.
Wow, that's a lot.
So here's the next step, just to try to simplify. I would go visit with an estate planning attorney who specializes in special needs trusts. And he can or she can explain exactly what it is. They can draft it for you. And then essentially that special needs trust would be what receives anything in your estate at your death. It would be directed into that special needs trust, and the trust would be created in such a way that anything that goes into that special needs trust does not in any way jeopardize your son's need-based SSI or Medicaid.
Wonderful. I'm glad to hear there is, something that can be done, because I didn't get a lot of information, the person who was telling me, and I had not ever heard of this before. So.
Okay. Yeah. It'd be a great thing to do. And any estate planning attorney, especially one who specializes in special needs trusts, could walk you through it. There's also something called an ABLE account, ABLE. A lot of times they're used together in certain special needs trusts versus the ABLE. In some cases, you can use them for certain expenses and not others. And so that's why you often use them together. But that would be something I would visit with an estate planning attorney to discuss. Kim, thanks for your call today. We appreciate it. Let's see. Let's go to Chicago. Louise, how can I help?
Yes. Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I've recently retired in December, and I was prepared for retirement. However, when I turned 65 and retired, I had to get Part B. Now I have some medical conditions, and I am getting hit with co-payments, co-insurance that I've never heard of, and all of these expenses that are eroding my savings. And so I am looking desperately for a strategy on how I can at least get ahead or try to plan for these expenses.
Yes. I know this can add up quickly, and the fact that it caught you by surprise is a big part of the challenge. And this is very common, by the way, Louise, in the first year of retirement. People budget for the Medicare premium, but they don't anticipate all the other healthcare costs, deductibles and copays and prescriptions and dental and vision. So I think there's two steps here. First, figure out whether your Medicare coverage is the right setup, and then build healthcare into the retirement budget. So, you'd want to know, what you have first. Do you have just original Medicare only, or do you have Medicare plus Medigap or Medicare Advantage?
I have Advantage, and that's through my former employer.
Okay, you have the Medicare Advantage.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So the copays you're experiencing aren't necessarily a sign that something's wrong. That's largely how Medicare Advantage is structured. So instead of paying a higher premium for more comprehensive supplemental coverage, those plans have lower premiums, but they require the copays or the coinsurance as the medical services are used. The good news is that it has an annual out-of-pocket, a limit on the out-of-pocket costs for Part A and Part B services. And once you reach the limit, it's going to cover 100% for the rest of the calendar year. But you got to reach the limit first. So I would say, well, let's do this. I've got to take a quick break. When we come back, I'll talk to you about how to plan for the go forward. We'll be right back. Thanks for joining us today on Faith and Finance Live. I'm Rob West. We do have some lines open. If you have a financial question, call right now, 800-525-7000. Here in our final segment, we'll get to as many calls as we can. Before the break, we were talking to Louise in Chicago. She retired last December. She really was unprepared for all of the expenses associated with Medicare, not just the basic premium, but the co-pays and the additional out-of-pocket costs that she wasn't planning for. And, I think the key here is your Medicare plus Medicare Advantage is going to keep your premiums low, but you are going to have these out-of-pocket costs up to a maximum out-of-pocket for the year. So I think there's really two steps here, Louise. Step one is plan for the out-of-pocket costs now. So look at, now that you've got 8 months of history, what you've actually spent on healthcare since retiring and all the things, co-pays and prescriptions and premiums and dental and vision. Use that to come up with an average monthly healthcare number and build it into your retirement budget. I realize that's easier said than done. Then find out what your Medicare Advantage plan's annual maximum out-of-pocket amount is, and then keep a separate emergency cushion so that if you have a really challenging medical year, you don't go onto the credit card. We've got a cushion there beyond what you're expecting up to the max for the year. And then the second step, I think, is to review the plan each year during open enrollment from October 15th to December 7th. You're going to want to look at your current Medicare Advantage plan and compare it with the other options. And don't just compare the premiums. You want to look at the doctor and hospital network, prescription coverage, copays, deductibles, the max out-of-pocket limit, and really use that period every year to make sure your Medicare plan is still the best fit. But at the end of the day, I think the key here is we can't eliminate medical or healthcare expenses in retirement, but we can make them predictable, and that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, that sounds good. Now, when you talked about making comparison to other plans, I have a state that the Medicaid is from my employer, so I can't switch.
Okay, yeah. Right, but that won't always be the case, right? So at some point down the road, you'd be able to have the flexibility.
I don't think so.
Right. Okay. Well, if it's through it's through your former employer, is that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah. So you're right. So if you switch that, you could lose that employer benefit. So then in that case, you would not want to shop around because you didn't go out and get it on the open market. And so, what you could do is figure out, go back to and try to look at the real monthly healthcare costs, try to average it out and build it in, prepare for that bad medical year up to the max, and then call your employer benefits office before open enrollment and say, what choices do I have within my retiree medical coverage? Can I change plans without losing the employer benefit? If the answer is no, then you're going to need to stay right there. But there may be other options.
Oh, this is perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate this.
All right. You're welcome, Louise. God bless you. Thanks for calling. Let's go to Mike, who's also in Chicago. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. I really enjoy your show. So I have a quick question. I'm just about ready to retire, but in the meantime, I want to plan for my estate, and I'm thinking, I wonder what is the real difference, except the price, on a revocable trust or transfer on debt on the property. Because on my savings account, I have my kids on the same account with me, so that I guess that's okay. I don't know exactly.
Yeah. Well, the TOD is much simpler, and basically it is going to allow you to efficiently transfer the property at death. So, think TOD, simple transfer at death. Revocable trust, think an estate management plan during life and after death. And here's what I mean by that. The transfer on death deed, if you're in a state that allows one, is great when the situation is straightforward. I own my house. I want to keep complete control while I'm alive. And when I die, I want the house to go to this person without probate. Well, that's what it does. You can sell or change the property during life, and the beneficiary doesn't own it until death, and it's very simple. The revocable living trust also avoids probate, but it can do much more than that. You can transfer the house into it while you're alive. You can continue controlling it as trustee. If you became incapacitated, somebody could take over the management of it. When you die, it efficiently passes at whatever time you choose to the heir through the trust. But you can also add other things to the trust, which would also pass outside of probate. So it's more expansive, and it has functions that allow assets or property to be handled during incapacitation while you're still alive. So yes, it's more expensive, but it gives you a little bit more flexibility. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Thank you very, very much.
Okay. Thank you. Absolutely. Let's see. Let's go to Alan. And, we're going to head to Victoria in Miami. Go ahead.
Good
Hi,
afternoon.
Victoria.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
God bless you. Thank you for taking my call. Sir, I want to know what's the best age to retire for me, the full age retirement. I'm 62 at the moment.
Yeah.
When is it that I should be retired? How can I go to the office, or they will get in contact with me? Would they send me the Medicare when I turn 65? How would that work?
Yes. Well, let's deal with the optimal age to take Social Security. So first, there's really not a universally optimal age, first of all. So for someone who's 62, your full retirement age is 67. You can claim now, but your retirement benefit is going to be roughly 30% lower permanently than if you were to wait and take it at 67 for the rest of your life. And then if you wait beyond 67, your benefit continues to increase until age 70 with delayed retirement credits of 8% a year after full retirement age. So really the framework is this. It's a series of questions. Do I need the income now? If not, then you probably want to wait. If so, then it might make sense to take it early. Second, how is your health and longevity? If you're in good health and longevity is in your family, delaying becomes more attractive because you're buying a larger guaranteed monthly income for the rest of your life. If your life expectancy is significantly shorter, and I get only the Lord knows ultimately, but just based on your health and family history, then that's where taking it earlier might make sense. Third would be if you're still working. So this is important before 67 because you can only earn up to a certain amount, and they're going to start reducing your Social Security temporarily. And then I would just say, whether you're married also is a factor because, if depending on who's the higher earner, there's a strategy where one takes it early and lets the higher earners continue to grow, because that could ultimately be the survivor benefit down the road. So those are the main issues related to when. Now, what was your question about Medicare?
The Medicare, do they send it automatically, that red, white, and blue card that is Part A and Part B? When you turn 65, Social Security sends you that, or you have to request it?
Yeah, if you're already receiving Social Security benefits before 65, you're automatically enrolled in Part A and Part B. And Medicare will mail your card before coverage begins. If you're not receiving Social Security yet, then you're not automatically enrolled, and you'll need to sign up yourself at age 65 unless you qualify to delay enrollment because you or your spouse are still actively working and covered by your current employment. One exception to that is Part D and Medicare Advantage aren't automatically provided just because you turn 65, because you've got to choose a plan and enroll in it. So really, it ultimately comes down to whether you're already collecting Social Security. If you are, you're going to have the automatic enrollment. If you're not, you're going to need to take action. And in either case, you've got to take action for Part D and Medicare Advantage.
That's before my full retirement age at 67, because right now I'm getting my retirement from my job employment FRS. So I really don't need the Social Security. I would like to wait, the latest to retrieve my Social Security. But I'm thinking, do you know how they penalize you if you don't sign up? I hear your show saying, you could get penalized. So I don't want to get penalized if I'm 65 and I haven't done nothing. I'm waiting for 67, my full retirement.
But see, you've got to separate Social Security from Medicare. You can delay Social Security and not take that now because you don't need it. But if you don't have active health insurance, then you need to go ahead and enroll in Medicare at 65, because if you delay that, you're going to have the penalty. So what you would do is you'd say, I'm going to go ahead and take Medicare and enroll at 65 because I'm not covered by an employer's plan, but I'm going to delay my Social Security retirement benefits until full retirement age or beyond because I don't need the money. Does that make sense?
Yes. What about if I have, because I'm already retired, like I said, mentioned previous, from my previous, my job, and I have the health insurance through them. I stay with it when I actually retired, so that I have health insurance. I still have, even if health insurance.
Okay, that's where I'd be careful, because a health insurance from a previous employer, because you're retired, is generally retiree coverage, not active employment coverage. So if you turn 65 and you have retiree health insurance through your former employer, that generally doesn't give you the same protection for delaying Medicare Part B that a current employer does, which is entirely different. Make sense?
So I should go at age 65 to go.
That's right. Yep. Hang on the line. We'll talk a bit more. Appreciate your call. Faith and Finance Live is a partnership between Moody Radio and Faith Fi. We'll see you next time. Have a great night.